All right, welcome back. This is part two now of writing our first project. All right, up to this point now, what we have done, obviously, is we have created our interface. Very good for us. Yay for us. We got our interface done. These interfaces will get more and more complex as the course continues, but right now, this is what we're trying to accomplish for this particular week, something very simple like this. And your assignments will be very similar also. With that said, what we want to be able to do here is we want to get into how to make this program work. Okay, so here's another term I want you to write down. That the third term is event. So Visual Studio is an event-driven language, meaning any ideas? What do you think? What do you think that means? Think about it for a second. You just sitting there waiting, rolling your eyes? Okay, fine. So what an event-driven language actually means is that programmers write a code, if you will, or write logic based upon what how the user, the person using our program, interacts with the interacts with the the interface. Okay, let me try to say that one more time. So programmers will write logic, the actual programming code, based upon how the user interacts with this interface. Wow, right? That's called an event driven language. There's a lot of those out there, okay? And that's what this is. So what we're saying here is that what do we expect the user to do once that form has popped up? I'm pausing again, thinking you're answering, and I'm getting all your answers the via mind games or whatever. In this case here, I hope you're saying, well, I would think they would expect to press that button and something's going to pop up in the label. If that's what you're saying, you're absolutely right. Which means we need to write programs logic based upon the user clicking that button. There are a lot of events we can write that to. We can write an event based upon them clicking on the label if we want to, but that doesn't happen very often. Most of the time, most of our events are based upon clicking of the button. Okay, but I'll show you other events as the course progresses. In this case here, our goal is to write programs based upon clicking of the button. So let's go ahead and do that. So what I'm going to do, what I just did there, I'm going to go back a little bit. What I did there is I went to the button and did a left double click. So a left mouse double click, okay? Boom, boom. And it took us to our program, in this case, our coding screen. Yay. This is where we're going to put all our logic. So let's look at this right now and make sure. I'm going to unpen these so I can get a little room here. What do we see here? I mean, this is kind of scary, right? So the usually when students see this for the first time, they go, "What? Well, oh my gosh! Now this got technical." Well, yeah, we're programmers. It's going to get a little technical here, but it's don't get too carried away. What you came into was the background programming. So what's going to happen is that once somebody presses the button, any kind of program, any kind of code that is in this piece right here from private sub to end sub, and I'll talk about what this is in a second, under the button submit click, it's going to execute. That's how it works. Now, let's look at this real fast. You see this thing called public class form 1, and you see end class. See how that's all part of it? I don't want you to worry about that right now. I don't want you even to guess what that even means. If some of you already know, yay you. Right now, I don't care about it. Here's the big rule, though. Don't touch it. Make sure it stays there. If you happen to delete it by accident, you probably corrupted your program, got to start all over again. So never touch public class form 1 or end class. You see that there? If you delete end class by accident, you could type it back in, but what you don't want to do is that. So let's go ahead and try that real fast, and I'll show you what happens when that happens. All of a sudden, we're going to get these nasty little red lines. So when you get a red line, what do you think you should do? You should not drop the course. You should not change your major. You shouldn't do anything like that. You should hover over the red line because you're going to get these red lines throughout this course, and you should read it and see what it actually says. In this case, class statement must end with a matching end class. Well, we accidentally deleted that, so I'm going to put that back, and as you see, the red lines go away. All right. Remember, red lines are there to tell you there's syntactically wrong. Boy, I messed that word up. There's something wrong with your syntax. Phew, my mouth's not working this morning. So there's something wrong with your syntax where you cannot, that it cannot move forwards. That's what the red lines means. So somehow you made a mistake on your syntax. Go figure it out, okay? Syntax errors are pretty common and also pretty easy to fix. What's nice about Visual Studio is it pretty much tells you where the error is. You just got to read it to figure it out. Some of the error messages are very easy to understand. Some are very vague, okay? And so you got to get used to them, all right, as you go through, okay? Within this particular class, we see this piece right here, and this is called a procedure. Everything in Visual Basic is a procedure, which means it's a unique piece of code that will execute based upon either by being called. In this case, it's being called by the button click. We're going to write a ton of these procedures, and when we get done with this course, you'll probably have about 20 or 30 procedures all within the button class, Form 1 and End class. They all go within that, and they'll be separate ones. Wow, right? For today, we're going to write one procedure, and it's going to be based upon this button click right here. Everybody with me? All right. As you see, you can toggle back and forth between the actual form and the actual code sitting right here. So pretty easy to do. What we need to do, like I said, is tell the computer what it is we're going to be doing in here. This is where we actually put our logic. And so we'll start talking about logic more and more and more. People who have programmed before or who have done some logic before, it all goes there. There's two things we do in programming in Visual Basic. Number one, we interface with the, I'm sorry, I don't want to say it. I'm saying this wrong. We actually interact with the interface. That's what I want to say. And we write logic. And I will show you step by step throughout this course how to do that. Okay? Today, all we're going to do is interact with the interface. So they press the button. What my goal was here, as soon as they press this button, I want the contents of this label to say, hello world. That's all I wanted to do. So basically what we're saying is, as soon as they click this button, I want to write an instruction here that tells the program, tells the computer, to put the words hello world into that label. If you recall, everything in that label was called LBL message. This is why doing this like this is so cool. All you got to do is start typing in LBL, IntelliSense takes over, and LBL message is there. Okay? What we're going to do is we need to change one of the properties. So we can change properties. Remember, a control has properties, characteristics. We can change these characteristics either in that properties window or we can actually change them in code. You'll be doing this a lot. First time out, a little confusing, I know, but you'll get used to this so fast that you'll go, oh, got this down, this is easy, all right? And so the property we want to change is the one that always holds the value, and that was the text property. You see, if I start typing it, it actually comes up in IntelliSense. As soon as it gets to the point that where you like it, you can actually hit tab, and it'll actually finish typing out the word. Pretty simple. We want to say equals to, okay? And what we want it to do is say we want that the text property of that label to now contain the words hello world. And if I do that, what we're going to do is we're going to write this thing hello world like this. Okay? Hello world I put into double quotes. You see that right there? That's called a string. You're going to get used to our data types as we get into this. Data types is a big part of programming. This is considered a string, meaning it's alphanumeric characters that will never be used in a calculation. With that said, you always put them in double quotes. So what is this doing? This is basically saying, I want you to write down one more thing here, or tattoo it on your arm, or whatever you want to do. Everything on the left-hand side of the equal sign is always replaced by everything on the right-hand side of the equal sign. And I see I have world here. You probably already saw that. Okay, so hello world. So in this case here, whatever was in the .text property when the program began, which if you remember was nothing, okay, it's now going to be equal to hello world right there. Okay? Does that make sense? So now when we get done, okay, it's not going to change it right here. It's going to change it when the program executes. So we're going to start the program and actually execute it and test it. And it's going to go through this thing called a build right here. This build sometimes will tell you if there's issues with it. And then what we will do, now the program is running. It's only running on its own. If I actually take down everything, you see this little program sitting here running on its own. Now when I press submit, the magic of our program is it went and executed that event procedure that we wrote, and it went in there and executed the code. And in this case here, we had one simple little line of code that was called Hello World. Saying take that label and now make it say Hello World. What do you think? What do you think? That's your first program. Yay, you. All right. You got to start somewhere. Hello World seems to be where we always start. Now, that's actually pretty cool. Again, I'm going to get rid of this down here. And there you go. And so that's kind of really the first pieces of writing a program is this Hello World piece and so on. Okay. Let me kind of, I'm going to try to summarize what we've done here. Once again, okay, if I want to get my toolbox back, I can go ahead and pin that. Just click on these little side pieces right here and pin that. See how I do that? Click and pin. If I unpin it, it will go to the side. All I got to do is click on it to bring it back. Sometimes I like doing that to find some room. So we come pretty far in a short period of time here. We introduce you to Visual Studio and we introduce you to writing your first program. Once again, double click on this and you'll see that this is this piece right here. What's kind of nice about Visual Basic is it doesn't care about spaces. I got a lot of spaces here. I use spaces for readability purposes. Now you might be saying, wow, this programming stuff is really easy. Well, I'm going to tell you, probably starting next week, we have one line of code sitting in here, right? Starting next week, we'll probably have about 25, 30, 40 lines of code. So things get a little bit more involved, don't get me wrong, very involved. You're going to be surprised by the end of this semester how far you come in programming. There's a lot of things to go in there, but we got to start somewhere, and this is the great place to start, okay? Once again, what I would do in this case here is now that you got your program working and everything is good and you like it, probably what you're going to do is upload your assignment to us. I'm going to have another video in the next video showing you how to save everything and zip everything and upload it to me. And that'll be in the next video.